So I worked today. Tired. My hair's all frizzy. In meetings today. It's late. I'm going to the Renaissance Festival in just over a week. Let's make a hat. So what do I need to make a hat? It's been a while since I've made one, but I have made several. And there are a lot of different ways you can do it. First of all, you're going to need something to stiffen your hat. So you'll need, well, first of all, you'll need a pattern. And there are two ways you can do it. You can either buy a pattern or you can make a pattern. And I've made many patterns. It's something we can do. But I think because I'm under the gun a little bit, I think I'm going to use an existing pattern. So I have this pattern here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Then you want something to stiffen your hat with. So I've got some of this stuff. You can get this with the Pellon stuff at Joann's. It's just this thick, stiff material that's meant for like purses and stuff. So I've got some of that. I don't have any millinery wire. I'm all out. So what we're going to use is we're going to cheat. We're going to use some floral wire, which I have plenty of, and some floral tape. That will work. This is stainless steel. It shouldn't rust. The problem is it's not as thick as a millinery wire, so it's not going to give me as much stiffness, but it will give me some. Other things you can use for your hat. I've had good luck using that mesh, not mesh, but that plastic grid that people use for needlepoint. It was really big in like the 80s and early 90s. But you can still get it. I've used that with great success for my hat shells, especially if I want like a top hat or something with some height to it. This is going to be a low soft hat, so all I need is a brim. So I don't think I'm going to need the plastic canvas. I may regret that. The downside behind using this stuff is when this gets wet, it will turn into a soggy mess. Whereas plastic grid will keep its shape, even in the worst of rainstorms. So we'll see. I may change my mind on that. But for right now, I think I'm going to use this. It's here. It's out. I'd have to dig to get to my plastic canvas, and I just don't want to. So I think we'll do that. So let's talk about this pattern a little bit. Hat. Look at how comically large that hat is on this dude's head. It's just oversized and over the top. But this is kind of English wear. I'm going to show you some pictures of some Caravaggio paintings. And that hat is pretty much exactly what people are wearing in those paintings. So, and I made one for my partner, Reggie. I'll put up a picture of that here, where I made that hat for him. So basically the same kind of design. So you can use this pattern. I don't know. Now I'm thinking maybe I'll just draw out my own pattern. What do you think? What should I do? Put it in the comments. Should I make my own pattern, or should I just cheat and use this pattern? I don't know. Okay, but if you can find this online, pick it up. This is a good all-purpose men's Renaissance clothing pattern. It's just good basics, and you can build from here, and you can turn this into anything you want it to be. So there's that recommendation. Again, there are some women's versions as well. One of the tools I have when I make hats is I have this bendy ruler, and I will put this around my head to kind of help me measure my circumference. Now, I have a giant noggin, and so it won't connect entirely, but I can kind of get it roughly where my head is. And you can see the gears turning, right? Like I'm starting to think maybe this is what I'm going to do. Maybe I will. Then I need paper. Oh, I got some craft paper. All right, I guess this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. It's okay. We will survive this. Okay. Let me get this stuff out of the way for right now. So that way we... Oh, and you're going to want something to mark your fabric with. But we'll deal with that in a little bit. We'll deal with you in a little bit. I'm going to start with this paper. All right. I just ripped off a chunk of paper. We'll go with this. See where this takes us. Okay, I do need a pencil. Actually, maybe I'll use the Sharpie so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm just going to put this around my head. Oh, I gotta take my ponytail out. I know you can't see what I'm doing. Ponytail out. I'm not used to having long hair. And then you put the bendy ruler like where you want the hat to sit, or where you think you want the hat to sit. And then I'm just going to kind of lay it out kind of where I had it. And I want to more or less center this. And then I'm just going to trace around it. And this is roughly the shape and circumference of my skull. Just kind of finish it off. All right, and then what I do, so now I've got my circle. I'll put this away. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fold this more or less in half. I'm going to figure out where the sides match up. Okay, I folded it kind of in half. And I'm going to go by this side, and I'm just going to cut out this shape. See how I'm doing. Oh, not too bad. Because, of course, I know because my ruler doesn't like to stay in its place very well. Okay. And then I've got this hole in my paper. Now I know this was the front. This was the back. This is the right, and this is the left. And it is important to mark those. And I'll show you why in a little bit. But first, I'm going to try this circle on my head and see if it fits where I want it to fit. Or if it's stretching too much, or if it's not wanting to go down on my big old noggin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some ease. So I'm going to cut it in about a 1/2 inch all the way around. So I'm going to fold it in half again. And I think you can see why I fold it in half. I know, these are little kitty scissors. I don't know where my good paper scissors went. Oh, actually, I think I do know where they are. I took them to work, and then there they have sat. Okay. Okay, so let's take this in another 1/2 inch. All my tape measures are failing me right now. I have so many tape measures, I can never find a single one. Does this happen to anybody else? Like, I have so many. Who knows? Who knows where it is? We'll just do this the old-fashioned way. We'll just use a hard ruler. And yeah, I know I just marked this and now I'm going to be cutting off some of this, but that's okay. So I'm just going to make this. See, I always make these too small. So I always have to cut these down to where they're a little bit bigger than what I think. Because if I don't, it will be way too small. But what you want this to do is you want this to sit comfortably around your head. And then this will be your blank. I just ran there and did the rest of the dots. And then I'm just going to connect the dots. And this will be my new cut line. My lovely partner found one of my tape measures for me. Hooray! Where are my pink ones? I just watched the Barbie movie. I want to use pink. Okay, I'm gonna run a pin in this. Wow, look how bent that pin is. I'm gonna run a pin in this though to keep it even. Oops. Pin and a pin. I really need new pins. There's so many bent ones and so many dull ones. And I've tried to run them through the little strawberry. They won't sharpen. They just won't sharpen. They've had enough. I mean, I can't remember the last time I bought pins. And you know, they only last so long. I know. We think we're going to use pins forever. They only last so long. Go buy yourself some new pins. This is me giving you permission. Go buy yourself some new straight pins. What are your favorite kinds of straight pins? There's all kinds of different ones out there. We could talk about those sometimes. But if you have a favorite, let me know. Blah, stumbled through that, didn't I? If you have a favorite, let me know. I like these long stainless ones with the glass head. And then I like these quilting ones too because they're super long. The quilting ones are a little thinner and they bend a little easier, I think. But like, look how long those suckers are. How long are they? Like an inch and a half without the ball. And then these are an inch and a well, they're almost an inch and a half. Yeah, so nice long pins. Because I'm always pinning really thick fabric, and so I need something that can go through all the layers. Get those small little dainty pins, and I stab it through all the fabric, and it's like my pin's all used up. I got no more length left. Okay. Yeah, I'm much happier with this. I'm much happier with how this is sitting on my head. I'll show you. Love my beautiful chapeau. So I've got a little bit of give, but not like so much that it's going to like fall down around my ears. Remember, you're going to sew a lot of fabric and stuff in here. So that's going to take up some of your thickness. Now you are going to have a seam allowance, right? So it's going to be a little bit bigger, but again, you're going to have a lot of thickness, a lot of stuff in there. So, you know, keep that in mind. Okay, back to the drawing board. And I can just make out my left, right. And now I'm going to mark my quadrants. Marking my quadrants, marking my quadrants. And now I can fold this front to back. Match those marks up. So I guess you don't, like when you're making this, you don't want it to just fit. You want it to have a little ease to it. And if your oval's not perfect and symmetrical, don't worry about it. It's fine. Your head's not perfect and symmetrical. Your head is globular and weird. Just roll with it. All right, there's my quadrants. Now I get to decide how wide I want my brim to be. Now my piece of paper is only so big. So I am kind of stuck to however big this is, right? Or I could tape more to it. How wide is this? 2.5. And so then by the time I'm done with seam allowances, it's going to be 1.5. And that's not a very big brim. I really want this to be kind of 2.5 finished. Maybe even bigger. So let me mark this out at 2.5. Just for my markings are wearing off my ruler. All of my 1/2 inch. Time to get a new ruler. All right, that's another thing. Splurge and get yourself new pins. Splurge and get yourself a new ruler. This is me giving you permission for both. New pins, new ruler. You heard it. Look, I don't make the rules. These are things you need in your life. I bought this one thinking, oh, oops, that's all right. This is right. Boop, boop. I bought this one thinking I'd really like it because it's pink. I can barely see these numbers and the little hash marks because it's so light. Like, this would be nice against dark fabric, but I wish I had a dark one to use against light fabric. You know what I mean? I'm just needy. I'm just following this all the way around. Marking my 2.5 inches. And I can do two things with this. I can draw this out with seam allowances, or I can try to remember that I need seam allowances. But you know what happens every time I do that? I do not remember that I needed seam allowances, and I cut out whatever size this is. So we are going to do one with seam allowances. But this is the size I want my hat brim to be. So we do actually want this pattern too. I'm not doing this frivolously. Okay. So now I made a bunch of dots. What do? I connect the dots. And I'm really probably only going to finish halfway because I can, again, fold this in half, pin it, and cut it. And I've got those marks to follow. Just in case. And I'll draw it out. Why not? I'll draw it out so you can see what I'm doing. I really should have ironed this, by the way. This paper. Should have ironed it. I have a feeling I'm going to regret not ironing it later, but we'll... If that's true, I will flash the word foreshadowing on the screen somewhere. I don't want to turn the air conditioner off. It's the only reason I didn't iron this. I can't run the air conditioner and the iron at the same time because my house is 100 years old. Let's see if I can find some not bent ones. Nope. Fail on the first one. It is bent. I think these burgundy ones aren't bent. Most of them. All right. And you know what? Why don't I use my fancy... I'm going to use little scissors. Those are too little. Never mind. Just kidding. All right. There is that. Okay, there's that. So this is my brim shape. And so we are going to label this. That's the back, that's the front. Nope. Why do I have this labeled like this? This is the... No, that's right. Yeah, that's the front. This is the back. All right. We are going to want the grain of the fabric to go this way. with the front and back of the hat, to follow the front and back of the hat. And I'm going to label this, I always put the year, my name, because this was made for me. And we're going to say this is the brim pattern. All right. So there's that. Now we want to make a pattern for the brim fabric, which isn't the same thing as the brim itself. Again, this is the shape and the size that just the brim is going to be. Now we need to make a pattern for fabric that is going to cover over the brim. So let's do that. I'll need more paper. All right, I'm sorry this is brown on brown. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. If I had literally any other paper, I would do it in 2 different colors. Okay, again, I should iron this. I'm not, and I'm tempting fate. So, you know, follow your instincts. But I do recommend ironing this down just to make your life easier. This is 100% going to make my life harder. So I'm just pinning this down. I'm just trying to flatten it out, which again would be easier were it ironed. And you got to be like, Sherry's pinning things. Yup, Sherry's pinning things. Hats take a little bit more precision. Oh, this is a dull pin. Hats take a little bit more precision, and so you want to pin this out to make sure that you're getting the right shape. Okay. Now we are going to mark a 1/2 inch in from this inside line and a 1/2 inch out from this outside line. And we're going to transfer over our quadrant markings. I should make these markings on the outside too. I can see the fold line. I don't know if you can see it. All right, so we're going to measure a 1/2 inch in and a 1/2 inch out. Okay. So I'm going to mark, before I take all my pins out, I'm going to mark this one again. Right, left, back, front. And I can take my pins out. And this is 2023 Sherry's brim fabric pattern. Okay, so this we want to cut one of our stiffening. Whatever that is, if it's the that fabric like I showed you, if it's canvas, if it's buckram, whatever you're going to use. What I wouldn't suggest is I wouldn't suggest using cardboard, because you're going to sweat in this. It's going to rain out there. Your hat's just going to go limp and just go yucky. So I wouldn't recommend anything like buckram or cardboard or anything like that. You could use that foam that people use. Was it EVA foam or whatever that people use for cosplay? You could use that. It would probably also be uncomfortable and hot. But you could use that. That'd be fine. It would work up well. I've never worked with it before, but you could use that. All right. So I'm going to cut this pattern out, but we're going to use this pattern for not only the brim, but we're also going to use it for the crown of our hat. We're basically going to make a sandwich. I was completely wrong on this, so I got rid of the audio because I was really tired and I didn't know what I was thinking. So I'm going to need, I have two different shapes that I'm going to cut out, that donut shape and then the big circle. I need 3 of the fashion fabric of the donut shape and 1 of the big circle in the fashion fabric. And then out of lining fabric, I need 1 donut and 1 big circle. That will make a whole lot more sense as we go along, but I just want to make sure that you have the counts right, because what I'm writing here is not going to work. It's not enough fabric. So just want to give you a little heads up on that and just make sure that you have the right information. All right, back to the video. Okay, so I'm going to cut this pattern out. And this is our whole pattern. This is all we need. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, I'm also going to mark on here that this is with half-inch seam allowance. That's pretty much my go-to is half-inch. That's just kind of what I naturally gravitated towards.